This is evaluation 7. We will be comparing our prelim to our final cut to see how much progress we've made. We use natural lighting throughout our prelim, which is coming through the windows and any form of light source that was around us at the time. So we had limited amount of lighting as well in that part because we had to be in one part of the building. We didn't have any lights or anything. So.
Yeah, so we didn't have much choice as to what light there was because we had to film at a certain time within the day.
Yeah.
I think it was the afternoon, wasn't it?
Yeah.
So so we had like no choice there as well because we didn't have any like lighting props, as you said. And also throughout you'll notice that there's not a variety of cinematography or we mainly use continuity editing.
Yeah, it's quite basic, like the shots and stuff.
Yeah, so but when we watched it back, we realised that in our thriller that we'd need to use loads of different shots to make it, like you said, more interesting. The first shot we used was a horizontal pan of Hannah walking through the door, and then the first piece of editing we used was a match cut of her coming through like either side of the door. And then her costume, because we had like a limited amount of choice with the costume, it just had to be a school uniform. And also we had a limited location as well because it could only be in a school setting, and we chose to do it in like our first mistake in our prelim was choosing to use an art room where there was an art exam going on next door, so the dialogue was like really quiet. And comparing this to our like final cut, which we'll like analyse later, we didn't use any dialogue in the final cut where we did in this one. We used diegetic dialogue. We used continuity editing here and another panning shot.
This is our first close-up shot in the prelim, which is Hannah opening the door, so she's got a hand on the door handle. We had a limited amount of movement because we had a limited amount of space to film the prelim in, so this makes it more interesting for the audience to watch. They can see that she's moving somewhere else. We also saw this in other prelims that we watched before filming ours, so we thought it would look good, so we used it.
We then used another match cut of Hannah walking through the door, and then we began the scene with diegetic dialogue, and it also included shot reverse shots, 180-degree rule, and we used over-the-shoulder shots, as you can see there. So that was the cinematography that we used and editing that we used in this scene.
Here, as you can see, we have the props as pen and paper. We had quite a limited number of props because they were just sort of in the room and we didn't really know what else to use, but as it was like a teacher-student sort of thing, we thought it would be appropriate to use pen and paper.
Again, we used another match cut and continuity editing of Hannah walking through the door, and we used another horizontal panning shot of her walking.
As you can see, just before it ended, as Hannah was walking out the door, the screen started to move, and that wasn't us being heavy-handed with the camera. We didn't realise you had to turn off the stabilisation button to make it not move, so that's a mistake we made, but we realised it and corrected it so we could use it in our final cut.
And again with the props, there was hardly any continuity with the paper, and as this was kind of our first practice of filming, we realised that we had to really keep track of when we stopped filming one part, we had to keep the paper or the pen in the same place, otherwise it would just look weird. But unfortunately you can still kind of see that there wasn't enough continuity in our prelim, and that's the end of our prelim.